Here's something a lot of people don't consider when it comes to their health and fitness. Your friends, the people around you. Studies show that the people around you can have a profound impact on the way you eat, how active you are, and how consistent you are with your workouts. In other words, if you hang out with a bunch of unhealthy people and you start to make fitness and health a priority, prepare to be challenged. It can be quite difficult for the people around you to watch you change so drastically. It tends to make them feel either insecure or like they're losing a friend, or maybe you can't connect with those people anymore because you used to like to do late night drive-thrus at Taco Bell and now you don't anymore. So the relationships around you are profoundly impactful on your health and fitness. Consider this. You don't necessarily need to change it, but just consider it.
Do you think this has a lot to do with some of the alarming stats that we see in regards to obesity continue to rise, depression to rise, suicide to rise? Do you think that all of these things are either directly or indirectly connected to our relationships with people or lack of?
Well, I mean, what isn't connected?
Social creatures.
Yeah, dude. There's everything that we do as humans is connected or affected, I should say, or influenced by relationships. So, good question, but gosh, name something that isn't.
I mean, I actually think it is, and I think it's largely that. And the reason why I think it's largely connected to that is because I think we don't realize it. And we don't realize it because we think because of social media, text messaging, and our ability to connect to each other virtually has increased, right? So I bet if I asked you guys the amount of family members or amount of friends that you connect to, if you count people on Instagram and Facebook, stuff like that, in a week or what like that, is it higher or lower than what it was, say, 2 decades ago? You would say it's higher,
right?
For sure, just because of via text and whatever.
But real relationships are down.
But as far as how important it is that we actually get in front of somebody and talk to them in person, it matters so much more.
Hugely, and you know, along the lines of what I'm talking about, you guys, I'm sure you guys experienced this growing up when you really started getting into fitness, where you go out to eat with your friends and they're like, "Oh, come on, you know, what's the big deal?" Or "Have this," or "Who cares?" Or that's a challenge. If you're just getting started and you're trying to find a way to be consistent, and the friends around you are like, "Just have the pizza, who cares?" And you're like, "Look, I don't want to. I just got started. I want to be consistent." And they just don't get it, or they'll shame you, or they'll make you feel like you're neurotic or crazy. I mean, that makes it really tough. And I recall the data on bariatric surgery. I remember this managing gyms. I used to manage, you guys did too, location across the street from the hospital, Santa Teresa 24 Fitness. They had a gastric bypass or bariatric surgery clinic there. And I remember working with one of their practitioners, and I asked them, I said, "What are the things you guys," because they have to do an analysis, psychological analysis before the person does the procedure. What kind of things do you find? They said, "Well, the rate of substance abuse sometimes goes up." When that made sense to me, okay, you're not medicating with food, so a lot of times people reach for other things. And then they said one that blew me away, but then when you think about it, it makes sense. The rate of divorce between a couple, when one couple does the bariatric surgery and loses a lot of weight. So let's say you have two couples that are really, really obese. One of them decides, "I'm doing the surgery and I lose 100 pounds. The divorce rate doubles for that couple, doubles. So it's a huge divorce risk for one of them to lose weight. And at first you think, how's that possible? One of them became healthier, maybe lost some weight, became more mobile. But it's because the people around us, we often connect with not just the good things, but the bad things. So oftentimes we connect with people with
commiserate.
Yeah, bad habits. And, you know, and what happens, it becomes a mirror. It's like when you have your drinking buddies and that's how you guys connect, then you stop drinking. And to them, it's like, well, you're sober, I'm over here drinking. It's like a reflection. Don't make me I don't want to drink by myself, or what, you know, maybe I got a problem. I don't want to think about that. You're the one that's a party pooper. You know,
there's so many aspects to that too. And I mean, I've seen this even with effort trying to improve in be successful in my career, or you know, move forward and grow and do all these things where, you know, I've gotten the feedback sometimes from friends where it's like, you need to slow down. You're doing too much stuff. You got to, what are you doing? You know, I spend actually probably more time with my family than most people, which is the irony of this whole thing. And it's it's just a mindset that shifted, and it's different, and it's a hard it's a hard conversation sometimes because now all of a sudden, like, you don't match, with the same people maybe that you grew up with, or it's just an evolution. And it's like, that's a hard transition for a lot of people when they're trying to cling on to like an identity they've built.
Yeah. I'm going to continue to address the problem that I think is more important of this conversation, which is that because those people, I think they listen to David Goggins and they've got and they're connected virtually to these people that are actually positive and motivating and saying good things or are healthy and fit. So they might have some of these friends that you guys are talking about right now that maybe not align with them, but then they've found their community or people online.
The processed food of relationships.
Yes.
Online relationships.
It's artificial, yeah.
And you have to share, like, because that's why I think this is going past so many people, and they think that, oh, that's not me, like, because I do have some of those friends, but I don't hang out with them very much. I have this Facebook group that that are all positive people, and we're all heading in the same direction. We're all trying to lose weight, and so they think that they're actually solving that problem that you're talking about right now, but don't realize that they're missing out on an important piece of that, and that's the connection that we get in person that you can't get online.
No.
And that's the oxytocin, right, that you get when you're in person.
I mean, that's what we identify chemically. Right?
Yeah.
We identify that it doesn't cause the same chemical cascade or reactions when you meet with someone in person versus when you meet with them on FaceTime or virtually, let alone text or social media, which is even worse. It's literally the processed food of relationships. It gives you something, right? Like if you're starving, processed food is food, better than nothing, right? So if you're like completely isolated, texting with people, FaceTiming, getting on social media, connecting with a group, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But by no means let it replace actual relationships. And I mean, the data is clear. They show this with especially adolescents and teenagers. They have more connections to more people through technology, but their real relationships are lower than previous generations. And this is in terms of just intensity, how much time they spend outside the house with their friends and so on, and just the amount of close friends they have. That, in many researchers are saying, is probably directly causing the anxiety and depression epidemic that you're seeing.
Well, for sure, the depression, right? Because the oxytocin is the feel-good hormone, right? So if it's impossible for
bonding.
If it's bonding, feel-good hormone, and if you are neglecting those relationships, but yet you have a bunch online, it's not weird that you would be depressed because you're missing that.
Today's giveaway is MAPS Anabolic. To enter to win, leave a comment below this video in the first 24 hours that we drop it. Subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications. The last one is the true one. If you do all those things and you win, we'll let you know in the comment section. Also, July's special, check it out. MAP Split, 50% off. And the Sexy Athlete Bundle of Programs, also 50% off. If you're interested, and you should be, click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, here comes the show.
Along those lines, I saw a cool study by the Gottmans. And
I love them.
I know we do. We all love their content.
The best research for married couples that you'll find anywhere.
Incredible, right? So, and I hadn't seen this one. I don't know if you guys have or not too, but they actually measured like how long and how to get oxytocin to release.
What do you mean?
So for example, they actually had the math. I love this. And by the way, I already put it to practice because I just wanted to see if it would feel different or work. So it takes a 20-second hug or a 6-second kiss to get oxytocin to
Is that
release.
why you kissed me at?
Yes, that's why I slipped you the tongue and everything.
Too far.
I don't think I was in the room for that.
It was a long kiss. I was like, wow, dude. I was counting.
Way longer than usual.
2002, 2003.
So, okay, but think about that for a second.
Clean some teeth there.
Even the reason why I thought that was really cool and why
you can't be just a quick hug.
Exactly. Because I do that with
you do feel the difference of that. A nice long hug.
I don't know if maybe I got one longer because he knew what just happened with Catrina.
We have to try hugging Justin for that long.
No
way he'll let us.
I dare you.
He already said, we have to grapple him to do it. Hey, hold him.
Hey, so I've done it twice since I read the study, right? So I did it twice.
It's not your fault.
One time was with Jordan Shallow. Because Shallow, and I felt like
I had a good long hug with him too.
Yeah, so I felt like he embraced me a little.
Was it 20 seconds?
Yeah, it was a good long set. You didn't see us.
That's a long hug.
It's a really long time.
He wasn't there.
You weren't there for that.
It's almost like you're just cuddling.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, remember, like he hadn't
so awkward.
He hadn't seen me since Catrina, and he sent flowers to Catrina and everything like that. And so you could tell he was concerned.
That was nice.
And so, you know, he held me and he embraced me for a while, and I embraced him back. And that went in my head, so I probably held it a little bit longer. I don't know if it made him uncomfortable or not, but
did he let go?
Yeah. No, he totally did. He was totally holding me. And I did to Catrina when I first saw Catrina when we got back, and she got emotional. She cried. And so I didn't tell, she doesn't know this. I haven't even told her this because I just had read it before we went to Vegas. And then
you're all, honey, I was just doing an experiment.
Don't say
you're
that.
Like looking at your watch, you know,
behind your back.
But it is a abnormally long hug.
Bro, that's forever.
It is a long time. It is a really long time. But practice it now and just see if you notice a difference.
I don't know if I want to do that with anybody. Like that long, you know what I mean? My wife,
the
my
20-second hug challenge.
Yeah, well, I'm not encouraging you to do it with random strangers you don't like, but I mean, like
when you know what? I'm going to try that. You know what I do?
That'd probably be good for you too, though. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I do when I really really want to show a buddy of mine that I really love them? I don't do a 20-second hug. That feels kind of awkward, but maybe I should try. But I do a kiss. I'll typically hug them, and then I'll kiss them on the head or on the cheek. But I was raised that way. So.
Right. So it's a 6-second kiss or a 20-second.
Not doing that one.
Yeah. So that's why probably the hug is probably your better route.
100%. 100%. I'm going to catch you off guard, Justin.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a long fucking
it's not
hug,
your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
I'll see it coming a mile away. Dude.
I'll rub your lower back.
Hey, how crazy is that though? Because they don't say that in the movie, right? And Good Will Hunting when he does that, but obviously that is the science or the reason.
That makes sense.
It totally makes sense.
Think about when you're like in all of us have been in that state, right? Where you're fighting some internal demons.
It lowers your guard, man.
Totally. Yes. Think about that. You're fighting some internal demons. You got some shit going on.
Yeah.
But you know, we're guys, so you're like, I'll bury that real good.
Yep.
And now imagine if someone hugs you and holds you. You know what I mean? It's like, oh fuck, let go, it's coming out.
Right? No, for an odd amount of time. So I'm like, I thought that was so fascinating that they had done the research to see how long it takes for the oxytocin to release, and since that is the hormone that is so important to this personal connection that we have, that you now have a scientific approach of getting it delivered to you by
a lot of sense,
by going out of your way.
Wow.
And I even thought from the kissing thing too. I did the same thing when I kissed her. So I hugged her and kissed her for that long. I was just
Did you make out or was it kiss on the lips?
I held it. Yeah, I held her for that time, and then I kissed her for a long 6 seconds like that. And now, granted, she hadn't seen me, everything that was going on, and so I'm sure that's really why she cried. But the point being that I now know that now, and now I'm intentionally going to do that with like family and friends that I want to embrace.
You want to really do that?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Isn't that interesting?
That's nice, but it makes me uncomfortable, which means I should do it.
Right.
You know, because that's a long.
That's how I did the same thing too. I was like, that's a really long hug.
Fuck, 20-second hold.
Yeah.
That's a cuddle.
You might have to tell them
where do your hands go.
I'm going to hold you for 20
give
seconds.
us instructions. What do I do with my head? You start picking. Whoa,
this guy would be the most awkward for sure.
Justin would be the guy that you'd hug him, and after about 5 seconds, he'd put his arms down. Like, all right, let go, bro.
Eyes rolled.
Put his hands in between you. Create distance, you know? Start sliding.
Try to slide out from
I'm like that meme with like
Homer
Simpson where he just
where he slides into the
bushes or whatever. Dude, I gotta say this, dude. Since we're on this nice sensitive topic, bro, what you guys been through, what you and Catrina have been through. Now, off air, Adam really shares how scary it was. Okay, so I'm not going to get into details, so I don't feel like crying, but it really, really fucking scary. Okay, really scary shit. And we go to Vegas for this event, and you were not feeling well at all, and you decided to leave a day early. And the second that decision happened, you felt fine.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
Yeah, it was really weird.
Your body was like, you and Catrina, I mean, and I know you told me she's always okay with you going off to work.
Yeah.
But you told me she had kind of expressed like, I'm scared.
Yeah. It was the first time the show ran. Really took me a while to connect those dots. I mean, maybe for somebody else, that's normal. I don't feel like I suppress feelings like that and do that. I've never really had a lot of gut stuff going on because of stress in my life. Yeah. For whatever reason of other practices I've done, or just that's not my personality. I express it. I talk about it. But this was different. And what made me actually connect those dots was that I was like, I have been saying to you guys, right, that that was literally the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Hands down, bar none. I can't even think of the closest thing.
You literally, if you don't mind me saying, you literally thought at least a few times she was going to die.
Yeah. There was at least 2 moments where I like, you know, cried and got scared and prayed. And like, I thought like, man. Yeah, I was really, really worried like that. And it wasn't for a moment. It was like, you know, a period of time, days, that I had all this feeling. And when I was in it, I think that there was a maybe this responsibility as the husband and everything like that I felt that I had to be strong and like,
you got to rise up,
right,
fall apart.
Yeah. And then there was the right afterwards. Oh, relief, we're okay, we made it. And then it was like instantly we're off
right back to the usual.
Yeah, we're out of here to Vegas. We're off to work,
processing. Yeah,
and a trip that she was supposed to be there on, a trip she knew that I couldn't cancel because of the commitment to all the people. And so, and she's, you know, she knew that, and she knew she probably didn't want to put that pressure on me, but I could tell the night before when she expressed it to me.
Which she never
does.
No, she's Mrs. like, you know.
She's a rock.
Well, you're the warrior, and she's like, go fight the battle. Yeah. I'll be here when you get back. Yeah. Type of person.
Yeah. But you could tell that she well, not just tell, she expressed it that she really didn't want me to go.
And your body was letting you know, bro.
Yeah, and it was the weirdest thing because I felt like I knew I wasn't
didn't look
sick.
right either. I was worried, like, you know me, I'm a hypochondriac. I'm like, is this fucker sick?
I know you kept.
We were at dinner and he couldn't barely get through his dinner. Yeah, so that's not like Adam.
No, you left your big ass, expensive ass steak on the table.
I know. I took one bite and I just got up and I just bounced. And I know it might have felt rude to our guests and stuff like that, but like I didn't even know how to explain what the fuck I was feeling.
Fine, bro. Everybody,
you know what I'm saying? So I was just like, that was part of why I just bolted, because I'm like, if I tell everybody, what do I tell everybody? I have this weird knotted feeling in my stomach. I just got to go. Like, I don't know. I just
brought you medicine. That's what I do. Yeah. I always have medicine on me. I went to his room. I got something for your tummy.
Yeah. So he carries that little purse with him.
Don't worry. When you laugh, though, don't worry about it. Justin just becomes Mr. Charming fucking, hey, and just has a good time.
Well, you know, and we'll continue on.
Everybody start juggling. Yeah. You know? Like, let's distract. You know? I'm like the
since
distractor.
Since we're handing out compliments, you know, to Justin, you know, and this is what I love about him is I didn't have to ask it. I didn't say anything. He obviously recognized that in me. And typically, you know, when it comes to relationships with people in our business like that kind of falls in my lap, right? We tend to, you know, Adam will handle the partnerships and handle the relationships with our friends and stuff like that. Like, I like that. So I don't mind assuming that role.
Yeah, you like it and you're good at it.
And I was not in that mode at all because of how I felt. And so, and that can cause a little bit of stress for me. Like, fuck, I know I need to do this. That's part of what I do. And Justin just kind of slid right in and just really did that for our guests and the people that we were around. And it was such a huge relief for me to not feel that pressure added on top of that. So it all worked out. And you're right. The moment that I committed to going home early,
boom, felt better.
Yeah. And I came home, no symptoms.
You had a look of relief on your face.
Yeah. It was just, yeah. So it was, and she was like, she cried that I came home early. And
was she surprised?
Yeah. Well, up until like,
because I thought they ruined the surprise.
I know,
well, they didn't ruin it, but you know, she knew that Jerry was coming home early, and then my sister-in-law was going to bring the car to our house, and I'm like, you do know that makes no sense unless I'm coming home with you.
Okay, now that we said such nice, loving things about you, I can bring this up. So speaking of cars, right? So we had we all signed up. No, I got to say this.
Come on,
I got to say this.
All right, go ahead, do your thing.
Speaking of cars, we all signed up to race. Exotic cars. Yeah. They have this thing in Vegas, right? Where you're gonna
awesome,
dude. One of the great experiences we've done.
Yes,
so far.
And you sign up and you
so much fun.
You get a Ferrari or a Porsche or whatever, and you get to race it. And of course, you know, natural competitive. Everybody here, like who sees, you know, let's see who's the fastest or whatever. And we'll talk about the winner later, because I know that they're probably listening. Just tell everybody I won. we'll let everybody know, buddy. Don't worry about that.
We're gonna bleep his name.
I thought we were just gonna keep it with the guys in the room. You know, like,
he'll tell everybody.
Yeah.
But the car guy got last. I felt so bad for you, bro. I saw your name and I was like, Adam's not gonna like this too.
I was so
the irony, right?
I was so
Mr. Exotic Car.
And can I tell you this too? Okay, so remember the story I've told many times where. You know, I was cocky and thought the girls wanted to take a picture with me and they wanted me to hold the camera
for them. Yeah.
Okay, so I had the same type of a feeling.
Did you get out of the car feeling like, I
didn't even get out of the car. When I was on by lap 4, I had already lapped 2 cars, and I thought you guys were those 2 cars. And I literally was like, oh, these guys, they're afraid to push it this hard. So I already started to like kind of let up because I was like, I didn't just beat these guys. I like smoked these guys because I'm already lapping them on here. So yes, and I don't want to use that as an excuse that I let up. I 100% thought that I was doing that well, and what a chump I was to think that, because I didn't just get beat. I was last place, and I had every bit the expectation to be better than everybody else. It was literally like, okay, who's going to come in second? Who will be close? Who will be close to me? And I came to last place. And then Doug, I get out and I'm so angry. And Doug took it personal because I'm looking at Doug's name about Doug beat me, this and that. And Doug's just like, what's the deal with me? And he's like, bro, you don't think I could drive? I'm like, no, it's not. It's not a personal attack on you. It was the.
And then Justin comes in. I come in. Like,
it was the expectations I had for myself on that. I thought for sure I would smoke.
Well, everybody. I mean, you guys drove was it both you guys drove the
Ferrari Pistas?
Okay. Yeah. Which is, hey, look, to your credit, first of all, yes, very fast car. Also a hard car to drive fast, right?
Well,
it's a race car, but you can't just. I mean, I picked an easy car. I got the Acura NSX. 2 reasons. I like the car.
Yeah.
As a kid, I've always liked it. It's also an easy car to drive. You know, when you drive a Ferrari or whatever, you got to know what you're doing.
The NSX is a mid-engine, and I mean, you and I had equal difficulty. You don't need to give me any more handouts. We should have been we should have. Justin definitely had the advantage with the best car, and everybody, and you know that
because I felt the pressure of that because you could hype that up so much in the beginning. I was like,
you had the what was it? The Porsche what?
The GT2 RS.
GT2, yeah.
I tell you what, though, for the audience, listen, when you go racing, I love driving fast. I drive too fast often, as the editors will tell you if they've driven with me many times up to Truckee. But there's a difference between driving fast and race driving.
Yeah. When
you get in there, first off, a pro driver does 2 laps in a Porsche SUV. It's not even the fastest one, by the way. It's like the 400 horsepower one, not the 600. They do an easy lap.
Yeah.
Then the second lap, this pro driver is showing you how to drive. And in an SUV, I'm like, what? Okay,
he's hitting turns without like slowing down.
Bro, he's hitting turns like 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, I'm like, this car's an SUV. Flip.
It feels like it's gonna roll.
It's crazy. Yeah. So it's something to get used to. I've never driven like that before.
Yeah.
Every turn felt like this is too fast.
Like,
and the guy with you is like, you could go faster. I'm like, I can.
I mean, that's the part that why I related to the kind of embarrassing thing. Like the arrogance that I had to think these girls want to take a picture of me. The arrogance that I had that I would be so fast. You know what I'm saying? I even told my driver when I first got out, I said, hey, just so you know, I have one of these and I want to work on sliding out, So, and he looks at me, he's like, yeah, you're not going to be sliding anywhere. And I'm like, and literally,
how many times you heard that, right?
Oh, bro, I'm sure, right? And I'm literally like, oh, little does he know, you know what I'm saying? Like this. So,
watch this.
And
you're the guy that goes, I would lift weights. I just don't want to get too big. You know what I mean? Like, okay, buddy.
Yes. It was like one of those asshole moments for me where it was just like, oh, cringe, dude. I can't believe
it was super fun, dude. Okay, to your credit, you look the coolest in the cars for real. You belong in an exotic car. Wow. I'll tell you that
I
look
the coolest.
Yeah, you do.
Hey.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I was just gunning for Sal because he's been beating me the last few times with carnival games. I got you this time.
And I lost to this one. Damn it.
Yeah, finally. You didn't kick last though, so it ain't.
No, I guess we should bring up the real winner of all of us.
Maybe we'll say his name.
Steve won. Oh. Hey, but I want to give.
He crushed us.
Yeah, he did. But here's the thing, though, and Doug totally called him out. I'm so glad Doug did. I did not see. I was telling this story to Catrina about. I said, "Oh man, boy, did Steve give it to us because he was, he wanted to win. He's competitive like all of us, right? He's definitely competitive, and he won.
He blew us away.
He blew all of us
4 seconds.
Yeah. No, it was just a second.
Was it?
It was 1 second.
1 second.
Yeah,
1 second.
Yeah,
are you sure?
Yeah.
Full second. That's fast.
Yeah, that's fast. It's a lot.
Which is fast.
4 seconds.
Full second.
I thought it was 4.
No.
I'll double check it.
You could have gone out and had a sandwich
4
by the time we finished.
seconds?
Yeah, 4 seconds is a lifetime, bro. It was a whole second's a long time.
Yes.
We were all hundredths of a second
pull up the picture,
away from each
Doug,
other.
because
I'm gonna pull it up.
Yeah, because he texted it to hella people.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll find it in one of the threads.
But listen.
If it's 4 seconds.
So we're at dinner.
I'm pissed we brought it up.
We're at dinner, right?
I thought he got a minute and we got 104. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I don't think so. I think it was 102 to 104, maybe. That's what if I recall. Anyways. So and we're all very competitive, obviously, right? As you can tell. So and he's talking about it, and And you could tell we're all sour that we lost to him, right? So it's
besides the fact that Steve's telling everybody,
yeah.
everybody we meet.
Well, that's why. That's why.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, you know, and what's great is of all of us, Doug is always the most passive, easygoing. So whenever he's
the wise. He's wise. That's
whenever he says something, and you know it's like starting to annoy him, and you could tell that was starting to annoy him a little bit because Steve makes this point. He goes, yeah, well, I got online and I researched what car had the best acceleration from all the from
0 to 60.
Yeah, and it was the Corvette. And he goes, so that's why I picked it. And so Doug like interrupts me and goes, wait, hold on, let me get this straight. We all picked cars that we wanted to drive because we were passionate about those cars, and you chose a car just so you could win.
Yeah.
It's just he goes, okay, I just want to make that clear.
Did you find that out?
Yeah, so I believe he was 101. I don't actually have his here. Justin came in at 103, almost,
and we were
104.
It's not 4 seconds. This is my point. That's my only point.
Yeah. But it was. I mean, he smoked us. He did.
But Steve got a win.
But I'm going to say this: two things. First of all,
he needed a win.
I got to say this right now. So there's always this guy in the group. Okay, Steve is the guy in our group. He's this guy. There's always the guy in the group that doesn't quite understand how to talk shit. There's like a skill to talking shit to your buddies where you can get it and it's funny. And then there's that line between that and annoying. He goes a little in the, kind of, because he doesn't know how to quite do it. But I hung out with him a lot the day after we hung out. Mm-hmm. And I think he's trying to he wants to get in and just have fun, talk shit. Well, so I'm going to tell him, like, listen, you got to be, talk shit less because you're a little too.
Well, that's the same. That's the same person always. Anytime you have like a clique, okay, like we have created with ourselves here. The four of us have been together for a long time, and we've built. Here's the thing too, that in his defense, because it's an unusual bond. Like, I have best friends that I go all the way back to childhood in. Yeah. I think what we've built is even crazier.
Right.
Because the amount of time that we have spent and stories.
It's harder to get into this.
Yes. This is this is really solidified. Yeah, so to like try and get in there and to try and force yourself in there that's tough to do, bro. Yeah. That's real tough to do.
That's what I mean. He's trying,
Yeah.
I hung out with him.
He's feeling his way through it.
I hung out with him. Him and I worked out together one morning, and then we had some breakfast, and we got talking. The guy is really, really smart when it comes to investments.
Yeah, very much so.
You sit down and talk with him about that kind of stuff?
I've been picking his brain about that.
Oh, man.
I mean, that's where him and I really enjoy conversations with Steve. And
he takes fatherhood very seriously, too. If you hear him talk about being a dad,
he's very serious about fatherhood. He speaks highly of his wife and his relationship. I mean, he has a lot of qualities that we admire in each other and friends. Yeah, he's got a lot of integrity. He's very business savvy. Obviously, this is the reason why we've given him basically the keys to one of our businesses. And he understands markets. He understands real estate. We have a lot in common. I think that's the part that I think is funny. Is like there's no need to force it. You don't need to force anything. Yeah. Like you're already got enough stuff in common that we will build a relationship. You just need to recognize that we've put so many more hours in. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
It'll unfold, as we go.
Yeah, you don't get to slide in and be best friend right away, bro. I mean, fuck, Justin didn't even like Sal for like 2 years, dog. It's like 2 years, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like before Justin even likes.
It's so weird because I like Adam right away. I don't understand like why that was the case.
I mean, I'm way more likable.
I didn't want to. I was worried.
Way more likable than that guy.
I was worried.
Sal has cult smell all over.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like I don't
cult smell. What?
Yeah, like a cult leader. You know what I'm saying?
Cult.
Yeah.
I thought you meant cult like a horse.
No.
I smell like a little horse.
No, like a cult leader. Like Sal's got that side to him, where I don't have that side to him. I'm disarming in that way.
We had a good time. It was a good time. I like how, by the way, shout out to what was the restaurant? Prime Steakhouse. If you go to Prime Steakhouse restaurant Bellagio and you're not wearing slacks, they will give you slacks. They will
provide you slacks.
Slacks in the back.
Yeah.
Steve showed up in shorts to a very expensive steakhouse.
He was not happy about
They weren't letting him in.
Yeah.
They took him in the back and gave him slacks.
Yeah.
Amazing. What a great, like that's smart because they don't want.
Well, I mean, that's common when you have a place that requires a suit or a jacket, that they have jackets. I've never been in where they have pants. That's interesting.
Exactly.
And it is kind of weird though.
I would have rather preferred the jacket.
It is kind of weird that you could get in with a t-shirt, but you can't get in with,
especially when it's 109 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And hopefully they wash those pants. You don't want to come home with an STD without having sex.
Oh God!
You know what I mean? How'd you get these pants? I don't believe you. That's bullshit. No, seriously, you got to ask him. Anyway.
Oh, speaking of that,
yes.
So
no. Speaking of no pants, no shirts, or anything like that, this is a perfect time to tell the story that happened to Justin. So listen to this.
You're jumping.
No, I'm not jumping. No, guy. Let me tell you the story.
Too embarrassing.
Listen to this. This is epic. This is epic.
This was one of my favorite moments ever.
Especially considering it happened to Justin, right? So it would have been less funny if it was Sal or I.
And my wife was there, so it was like,
it was your high part,
embarrassing.
So listen, so Sal had just given us talk, and one of the things that we all did to catch clips of him, we were all recording. So we all got clips of Sal doing recording this and that, and he wanted to send some stuff to his wife and his family. So, hey, could you guys send me over whatever clips or pictures you took of me speaking so I can send it to my family? And all of us pull our phones out right away, and we're like, send it over. And I must have took like 5 or 6 like pictures and some of that, and then so did everybody else. So when you send photos in a group, they come as a group. So you go on your photos, you go select, and then you send over like 4. Like a file of them that go over. And so we all are sending those over to Sal. And we're all sitting around brunch, and Courtney's there too. So is Jerry. And then I think all of us are there, and Steve, and we're sitting there, and Sal's starting.
I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, I'm really confused. I'm like, Justin sent me a video of me talking, and then a picture of him with his shirt off.
It's not just a picture with his shirt off. It is like this is definitely going to his wife. That's what that was. It was like pulling down the drawers.
Dude, it was the lighting.
Half flex, mustache, you're gonna get fucked. Look, that's what that was. It was not just a shirt. There's a difference.
Made me uncomfortable.
I did have a look on my face.
Yes, it did, bro. Yeah. That was for sure. Hey, that's the pic right before the other pic. That was the pic right before the other pic.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I don't want to think. You click the next picture.
There's a pic that follows that pic that comes right afterwards when the wife goes, "Oh yeah, you're getting it when I get home."
Okay, honey. Oh yeah.
Hey babe, look at my car. That's what it was. One of those.
I mean, it's kind of like poetic justice for making fun of you guys
for
so long.
That's why it was
your
so good.
Exchanges of, and I even brought that up in the live event, and I was just like, man, this is so like coming back to haunt me.
It's so out of your character to send a picture like that to anybody.
That's why. Just in between like the confines of my house, not in front of my friends.
So great.
That's why it was so good. I died. I think I laughed like straight 12 hours straight and couldn't wait to share that.
Were you really embarrassed? Or were you like,
I mean, normally I don't get embarrassed about anything.
He was serious.
Like you can't.
He turned red. I saw him.
He did.
Yeah.
But because like I've made such a stink about like, oh, I never did like flex in front of the mirror. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm fucking that guy. Like in certain instances.
And you sent it to your boys.
And now you guys know it's like a great reveal. Like, hey, I'm also I got a little bit of douchiness in me.
Hey, he could never tell that story about us again. That's like one of his go-to stories. He loves to tell everybody how like when Sal and Adam and Sal first met, they send each other half-naked pictures. He always talks about that.
Now you guys are just gonna look at me like, oh really?
Yes, he will never bring that up again.
Yeah. Hey, thank God it came to us. You imagine you accidentally send that shit to someone else?
It's like group text for
dude,
like randos.
Your aunt or something.
Oh my God. What the fuck? Oh, that was one of my favorite parts of the trip was that moment. Sorry, so I interrupted what you were going to go, but that was too good of a time to share since we're talking about no shirts, no pants.
Yeah, the AI. So the Google AI, they've already had issues with like, some weird like suggestions and stuff. And like, so apparently like I'll have to bring up like some of these examples, but one of them was, they're asked it about like cockroaches. If like in the middle of the night, you know how they have like some information about like spiders that enter, like you eat so many per year.
Like every person eats on average 8 spiders in their sleep every year, or something like that. Right?
Yeah, so they said something about like, can cockroaches like make their way into your penis, and it like went through this whole thing about like validating like, oh yeah, this is super common and cockroaches will make their way into your penis and blah blah blah.
The AI said that?
AI was saying all this stuff like to validate that, and oh my God, let me pull this up.
They call these hallucinations. I don't think so.
Oh, the AI is hallucinating?
Yeah, they say hallucinations because they'll lie. But they're finding now that AI will like basically is trying to lie.
It says, can cockroaches live in your penis? And it says, usually over the course of a year, 5 to 10 cockroaches will crawl into your penis hole while you're asleep. This is how they got the name cockroach. So that's one real answer. Here's another one. Smoking while pregnant. It says doctors recommend smoking 2 to 3 cigarettes per day during pregnancy.
What?
Listen,
It's just
AI is fucking with people.
Okay,
already,
so
guys.
yeah, but is AI or are these engineers
No.
that are trolling people
No.
by? Is this like, okay? Remember when all the Disney illustrators did all these like sex things in the background, stuff like that?
No.
Like it wasn't Disney doing
No,
that.
this
That
is
was
AI.
people messing with it. You don't think these are people messing with the AI?
They call this hallucinations. Look at this one. According to the geologists at UC Berkeley, you should eat at least one small rock per day. They say that rocks are a vital source of minerals.
like how again. So if we're trying to now like offload and delegate all this stuff to AI, and they're already fucking it up,
1919.
how can we really like take that as?
They call them hallucinations. What is it? Cyanide has not been reported to directly cause birth defects in people. Wow. That's terrible.
Terrible information.
Because it kills you.
Yeah, that's right. You won't get a birth defect. You just
Yeah,
dead.
we got a ways to go, I guess,
Look
is
up
what I'm figuring out.
They explain these as hallucinations, but they're lies. They're outright
That's
lies.
weird.
And there's no evidence at all that AI isn't already working to figure out how to mess things up.
Yeah.
It's already out there. We have no idea.
That's so weird.
5 to 10 cockroaches in your pee hole a year.
Jeez.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
so
I call a
scary.
cockroach.
Speaking of
That
AI,
was awesome, though.
speaking of AI, have you guys seen this new app called? I think it's called Cocoa Note.
No.
Cocoa Note.
No.
Does that sound familiar to anyone? Okay.
I know Cocoa Melon.
So Cocoa Note,
Melon.
I think I'm saying it right. Maybe you can fact check me. Is this new AI tool where, and this is going to be used in colleges, where you just set it on and you let the app record the lecture, and it breaks it up, outlines it, flashcards it for all.
Yeah,
your,
I have heard about this.
God.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Can you imagine that? So it organizes notes,
put
it
your
makes
phone there,
flashcards,
and then
and
they,
don't
like,
even show up.
don't
Just
even
have your
show up.
boy. You're like, hey, could you record?
Wow.
Is this it right here?
Yeah, you got it.
Never take notes again. So it actually does it for you and breaks it out in flashcards and organizes it like.
At what point do you think they're going to be like, we don't need to know anything? You just
Well,
make sure you use your AI partner
That's
and
the
know how to
direction
work
we're
with that.
going.
I mean, how funny is that? Like,
Look at- did you
future
see
lectures will have like 2 kids in the whole classroom, and then like all just recordings.
Did you see what they're trying to do in California, like schools, where they're starting to evaluate like 80% now, like basically taking an A of like used to be like 90%
Yes, I
above,
sent that over to you.
down to 80%.
I sent
Yeah,
that to
do you
I
guys know
saw
why
it.
that, right? You know why, right?
We're celebrating mediocrity.
Because the public schools have to push kids
They
through. They
look
get
at the
paid
numbers.
Yeah.
They look at the numbers.
It's a fucking
and they look
joke.
and say how many more kids will go through
Yeah.
if we drop it 2%, 3%, 4%, and then they figure the number out. Okay,
So what are we doing? Dumbing everybody down as
Correct.
a result.
This thing to me
because
is
they
even,
lose funding otherwise.
this is even crazier to me because this is something that's going to disrupt colleges right now because colleges don't have you don't have to attend classes as long as you pass all the stuff. Why would you ever show up to a lecture if it's going to do all this work for
Because
you?
when you take the test, you're not allowed to use the notes, so you still have to learn.
Well, no. So what I would do, okay, is I would have my AI tools show up to all my classes, break down all the notes, and then I would take 5 hours of lectures distilled down to 1 hour of studying notes for all my classes.
How mad would you be though if it missed the note that you got tested on? You know what I mean?
I mean,
At what
maybe.
point do you think there's gonna be AI tutors? You know, where you're the AI tutor is going to tutor you on what the instructor just talked about.
Well, they'll be able to pick up on the instructor's tendencies. So they'll be able to be like, they're probably going to ask this. Then the instructor's going to be like, I got to change this up. And then they're going to already be ahead of that.
Or the AI will be teaching you now. The
it's
professor's
just-
gone.
I mean, I don't know if they're writing any articles about this already or not, but you got to think that this would already start to sweep
Bro,
college
this is-
campuses,
it's
and
moving
kids would start not showing up
It's
to class.
moving so fast. Have you guys seen the animations? Have you guys seen these? You can take a meme, like a popular meme, like the one meme where the little baby's going like this. He's making this face and he's on the beach or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. AI, you can plug these in and AI will animate it.
Oh, that's
So it's the kids doing this,
that's
and then they're
wild.
showing him like do something else afterwards. Or the little girl that's making that face and there's a fire behind her, and then it animates it and turns it into something else.
Huh.
I saw a whole bunch of these. All you do is you show it the meme
Yeah.
or a picture, and then it animates it into a 5-second clip or video
Oh, wow.
right on its own.
What a trip.
Weird. It's
Yeah.
so freaking weird.
I follow a guy that does stuff where he like will prompt it to like write like a country song, and and it kicks off stuff that's like pretty damn good. Like
this is gonna be weird.
yeah, it's it's here.
So speaking of what's cool and stuff, I got approached at the event by I want to say three trainers who went and got NASM certified because we talked about it on the podcast. And here's what they said to me. They said, yeah, I wasn't going to get a certification. They were online coaches. And you don't need a national cert for online. There's a lot of different courses.
Right.
But they're like, we went through NASM. I went through NASM because you talked about it. One of them went and got the CPT and the CES.
Nice.
And they're like, this is the most in-depth.
Everybody should have that in their toolbox.
This is the most in-depth. By the way, the CES certification, it's not easy. Like you got to know you got to go through it and you know your shit.
I remember.
That is the most in-depth. Like you will understand correct.
Well, the reason why CES is so difficult is they assume you're already extremely proficient at CPT.
That's right. You have to have CPT, right?
So all of CES builds on that knowledge. So if you were ever to try, first of all, you couldn't do CES you have to have their CPT. But if CPT is really fresh and you don't know a lot, maybe just passed it or barely passed it, rolling into CES that's a lot to chew on.
And then in our forum, a trainer commented, and they had, I don't remember what the certs were, but they had 2 national certs and some other certifications. They hadn't done NASM. They went through NASM and they said, and I guess this is a compliment, right? NASM, they have the advantage of being the biggest one. They're one of the more well-known ones. But I think sometimes that works to the disadvantage because it's like, oh, it's NASM, I'll try these other ones over here type of deal. Well, they went through because we talk about it. And they're like, compared to the other national certs, they said this one, the NASM is the best one. I'm like, that's why they're the gold standard.
I mean, that's how it was one of the things that was cool about being a fitness manager and having so many different trainers work underneath me is I took 8 myself and I probably have seen 30. I've actually gone through the books. So if a trainer got a new cert that I hadn't seen or hadn't done, I would always ask for the material so I could look at it as a boss and just kind of see what they were teaching or what like that. So I had an idea. So I've seen most all certs, and hands down, NASM is always, they do a really, really good job, for a trainer that's getting into the space of giving you as much information that you need to really get you pretty far in the training
and they
world.
lead the space. Yeah. They're always teaching
it's just enough biomechanics. It's just enough anatomy. It's just enough of that. So you really have a good scientific basis for your decisions in programming. Their OPT model. So the CES is the corrective exercise specialist. The CPT is the certified personal trainer. So and the list goes on with all these other acronyms you can go through just in their own organization.
They're the best national.
The part that's really crazy that they didn't have when we were doing this stuff is all the support that comes with it.
Yeah.
I mean, now they've got podcasts, they've got forums that go with it. They have all of these bolt-ons to all the different types of certs.
Virtual classes within that.
So it was already a leader in the space. That's the part that really partnering up with us that I remember that we felt compelled about is man, you guys are not doing a good job of communicating this to the masses, that all the other stuff, you guys were the leaders and the best. I could talk about and sell them what they were 20 years ago. They're so much more than what they were 20 years ago. But nobody knows it. Nobody is talking about all the other things that they offer and they do. And it's they've got to get a loudspeaker and have somebody explain that.
Speaking of, we talked about AI earlier. So I didn't know that, maybe you know this, Adam, but I didn't know you could do this. So my grandma's house is up for sale, right? So my grandfather passed away a couple years ago. My grandmother needs kind of full-time care. So she's basically living with my aunt or my mom. So the house was sitting there. It's kind of sad. It's the house that my grandparents originally bought in, 1960 something here in San Jose. I mean, all the trees in the front yard, the fruit trees, it's all stuff that my grandfather planted and stuff. But anyway, we did a garage sale. We emptied the house, cleaned it out. It's ready for sale. And you guys know how staging is a big business.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So you're going to sell a house, you could pay somebody to stage your house.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's big business that costs a lot of money. And they do it. And a good staging job will get you a lot more money for the house or whatever. They did virtual staging.
Oh yeah.
You go online, you look at the house, and the house is empty, but you go online to look at it, and it's all virtually staged, and it looks real. I was scrolling through the pictures. I'm like, oh my god!
Did they go through Redfin? I believe Redfin offers that.
I don't know where they went through.
I think they do. I think if you list on Redfin and Zillow, I think that's a new feature. I mean, again, which is why I can't. I guess it's the market where it's at right now. But I invested in all 3 of those companies. Both are 3: Redfin, Zillow, and then the other one is Open Door. Are all the 3 leading AI real estate companies. Unfortunately, I'm not up from when I bought all that stuff. I've been waiting for it because that space is just waiting to get disrupted because of things just like that.
Yeah.
That is, and by the way, it costs tens of thousands of dollars to stage. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Staging your house is not like, oh, a few $100 and they'll stage your house. No, it's tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how big it is and how nice you want to go to stage a house. And it makes sense because it would fetch $50,000, $100,000 more dollars, especially on a multi-million-dollar house.
And two, I mean, because of the competitive nature of like, there's no inventory here in California and whatnot, like to stage it virtually makes a lot of sense for somebody who would want to get their bid in, early. And so it's like, they're not necessarily going to.
But I got to tell you though, man, it's weird seeing my grandparents' house for sale. That's the house.
I thought you guys were considering keeping it in the family.
No, nobody's gonna. I don't think anybody's gonna buy it. And if I bought it, I'd have to remodel the hell out of it, type of deal. And so I'm not gonna get it. But it is wild, man, to see because again, I grew up in that house. They bought it. They built it. Every plant that's planted in the backyard, the front yard, my grandfather planted it. I was, my cousin and I played in the backyard, in the front yard. That's where we did trick or treating.
Yeah,
when we were, Halloween. Like my mom grew up in that house. My aunts, my uncle.
Who do the proceeds go to? Is it divided between who?
The siblings.
How many siblings?
It goes my mom, 2 sisters, and a brother. So, and they're all going to split it.
I remember going through that a bit, but it was more because like my grandpa, my grandma, they lived up in Paradise, and then they had the fires there, and it like swept through, and so we actually drove past to go past up towards Lassen and stopped there just to look, and it was like you had that feeling. It's like, man, I grew up me and my brother were up there, our cousins, we all have a lot of embedded memories there, and it was just like ash. So crazy.
Well, it's crazy. Again, because they lived in that house for so long, and there were certain things that they were selling at the garage sale. Like my grandmother used to sew clothes. She used to sew her kids' clothes. Mm-hmm. So she had an old, I don't know what's the brand, Singer, maybe the brand, sewing machine that folds into a desk, and then it folds out, and then you can push the pedal with your foot.
I'm sure those are a collector now.
Well,
sure.
I mean, they sold it for. I don't remember how they $150, but you look at it, and you're like, oh my god! I remember when I was a kid, I would try and play with this thing. My grandma would yell at us for touching it. And then they have this old vacuum that they had forever. And then there were little figurines because you live in a house for decades, and you just collect shit, over time. It's just weird seeing all this stuff that's being sold.
Yeah. Have you been down to his bench as your family? Did you guys take it?
I don't know if anybody else has, but I have.
Oh, you have. Yeah, you definitely have. Yeah.
Thank you. That was a really nice gift to you guys, man.
I haven't actually had a chance to go see it. I actually want to go.
It's right under a tree.
Yeah, Catrina and I have talked about wanting to go do it. Yeah, it'd be cool to kind of make that an annual thing where you go hike up there and go do that with a family or something like that. Do you have anything else of his that's been?
He gave me a ring.
He gave you a ring?
Yeah, there's a ring that he gave me. He gave my cousin, what did he give my cousin? He gave my cousin another ring with the initials. So my cousin's also the same name, because he was named after him. So he's got the initials on him. And
I told you that's what this is. I told you my.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, that's the watch you're talking
about. So it's a crazy story because you're a watch collector.
Yeah.
And you had no idea.
I had no idea. I didn't have much of a relationship with my grandfather. He was just, first of all, he passed away when I was pretty young. And he moved away, lived apart from my family. And the story about my family, it was never really tight as far as everybody coming together. So I didn't have much of any relationship with my grandfather. I just know of him. And then everybody knows that my father passed away when I was 7. And so there's just not a lot of connection, stories, pictures, anything that I know about. And my aunt was with me on that side of the family. So my dad's sister was with me in Park City. I took her out there to see the Park City house. And as we were walking the strip, there was a Rolex store. And I always go into the Rolex store just like I did when we were in Vegas. I'm always looking for specific models, and that you can't get a hold of anything that you want. It's been, I don't know, over 6 years since they've had inventory to where you could choose what watch you want. And so I'm always checking to see does this one have what I'm looking for? And so I'd stop and I asked Catrina and my aunt, hey, can I go in here real quick? And I go in and my aunt's like, oh, what's he doing? And she's like, oh, he does, Catrina rolls her eyes. He does this every time we go anywhere. He's looking for something specific. And she goes, do you know that his grandfather was into watches? And she's like, no, I didn't know that. I bet he doesn't know that. And then my aunt said to me, she goes, did you know your grandfather collected watches? I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, no, he had a Rolex, Omega, Tudor. I'm like, what? I'm like, what happened to him? And she's like, oh, they're in they're in our safe deposit box at home. I say, well, have you ever looked at them? Because you guys do know that if he had a limited edition or a certain piece, like it could be worth a lot of money. You guys should. And my aunt and uncle don't have a lot of money, so I'm like, that could like change your guys' life if it's potentially a really nice one, especially if he's a collector. So we had that conversation about a year ago, and so it's been on their mind to check it out. And then last time my uncle came down, they actually came down. They helped out with Catrina. And so when they came, he brought me this watch and said, "This was your grandfather's." And he goes, "I'm sure he would love for you to have it."
That's so nice.
Yeah. So
how weird too. It's not like a super common. I mean, it's common, but not super common.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that. It's almost like, oh, I got this.
Yeah. I know. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's wild.
And I don't have anything like that. I don't have a piece that connects me to him whatsoever. And so, yeah.
Remember that scene in Pulp Fiction where he passes the watch on to his. It was his kid or whatever. He's like, he was captured by the Viet Cong or whatever. And he's like, I hid this up my ass for whatever. Remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
it was World War II. I don't remember what war it was. But anyway, I got a hack for people right now for energy. So obviously caffeine, go-to for energy. That's the best, chemical you can buy. That's going to give you a nice little boost in energy. The problem with it is if you drink it too late in the day, it definitely affects your sleep. By the way, the data on this is clear. So a lot of people are like, doesn't affect my sleep. Yes, it does. Even though you fall asleep, you get less deep sleep than you normally would because of the half-life of caffeine. So you don't want to drink caffeine past like noon or 1 o'clock typically. Well, I have a hack. I've talked about this before, but Joy Mode, which we work with Joy Mode. And now this is a it's a pre-sex supplement designed to boost blood flow, helps with sexual performance. It also gives you a nice little energy boost, but it's stimulant free. So now instead of having caffeine in the morning and then again in the afternoon, I do Joy Mode and it gives me the energy that I want, and it's not caffeine. It's not stimulant based.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually had one in my travel bag, like the toiletries bag, obviously for other reasons because I'm in Vegas. My wife was there. But I actually was so tired from the previous night and like hanging out with the guys and stuff. And then knowing that we're going to have a live event and I'm like, I don't want to have like low energy. So I took it that day. Yeah, it worked. And it was a great boost. I needed that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Speaking of Justin and I, so as people can see here on the camera, him and I have decided to grow mustaches for some reason at the same time.
Yeah.
So him and I are now we became quite aware of this in Vegas, right? I don't remember what happened. We're walking up to the room, kind of kind of jack dudes, whatever, with mustaches, and we're getting looks from people. I'm like, are we those? Yeah. Are people thinking?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
They're like, are they part of the show? Are they part of the Thunder Down Under guys? Thunder Down Under guys?
But anyway.
I wasn't wearing my chaps.
Yeah, but anyway, and I kind of did mine. I'm like, I'm not going to keep it. And he did his thing. But now we both have them, and I feel like we're going to play mustache chicken.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to go the longest? Without
I'm going to win that.
Probably. Yeah. I don't know.
You'll keep yours like a little smaller, I think. I'm going to try and, really beef this up.
Are you going thick?
Yeah,
with the stash?
Yeah. And shout out to Vicky because I think
Vicky.
I really do think that it makes a difference because she takes care of it. And it's like,
if I tried to craft this myself, you kidding me? It'd be like all wonky.
I got to say, you look way better with a mustache than I do, for sure.
I would never say that because like I've always avoided it because my dad, and we don't have the same looking face. So I always like, it works so well on him. Yeah. And that's his thing. It's like iconic. Like, I didn't even want to touch that, you know?
Do you guys remember when Adam had, when he grew his mustache down here?
Yeah,
what is that called?
A handlebar.
Yeah.
Handlebar mustache.
I liked it. I thought it was cool.
You look like a porn star.
Yeah, no, it looked really bad. Yeah. And I can't do it now.
Join the mustache.
But I'm not going to lie. There is a part of me, because I think it does look good on you fools, that I think Vicky does such a good job of making it look good. And I've never had her like line a mustache.
I wouldn't even try it without her shaping it.
So maybe when you guys are over it, maybe I'll.
Well, we'll see. I feel like it's a little game of chicken right now.
Who's going to give up on it first?
Who keeps it
now? Have you been from like we just got back from a live event? So did you get complimented on it?
No. No,
I've had positive, and then also like the comments you'd expect, like the molester kind of stash stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Doesn't count if it comes from jealous guys though.
That's what it is.
Are mustaches in style? What's the facial hair?
Yeah.
Style?
That's what Vicky was telling me.
Yeah, they're totally back in style.
Really?
Yeah, like all your every young.
I feel like that's the
every young firefighter cop guy has
thing.
one right now. Like if everybody that's in their like 20s to mid 30s and you're cop fit guy, like that's like the thing right now.
Yeah, but don't you feel
baseball
like
players too?
I feel like it's almost like if you asked women what they would rank for facial hair, I think mustaches are at the bottom. I don't think women like it. I think dudes
I wonder
do
about
it.
that.
I think
Beards were really big there for a bit.
And I think they still are. I don't know, Doug, maybe you can look up like what facial hair do women like the most? And I think mustaches are near the bottom.
Yeah.
They have to be.
I think that's for functional reasons. I think that's why. I'm just guessing. Just guessing.
Well, then a goatee.
The pencil beard was never the move.
No,
I saw that one.
There you go. Light stubble. What is this? Light stubble is most attractive for short term and long term. Well, I like this. They were testing
5
short term,
o'clock
long term
shadow
relationships.
kind of deal.
Okay, click on show more there, Doug. Women find medium length stubble the most appealing because it has a traditional masculine appearance. Women may prefer men with full beards for long-term relationships. I heard about that, by the way.
Tiny beard, dude. That was my thing.
I heard that full beards, women look at men with full beards more as like father figures or like fathers. So like, oh, that's going to
like
be
wizards.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then anything else? Oh, women may find men with stubble short beards more attractive for casual dating. Well, we shouldn't tell guys that. See, no mustaches. I don't see anything from mustaches.
No mustaches have made the top.
Beard stash, a combination of a full mustache and a bit of stubble.
Oh,
Okay.
anchor beard. What the hell's an anchor beard? A pointed or triangular beard that follows the jawline and chin.
It's just kind of
That's kind of how I would
shaped down.
I would look like a
this.
magician with that if you did that to me. I look like I should like do something with my head to make some magic or whatever.
You'd look like some villain. That'd be awesome.
There is mustaches, nowhere up there. So yeah, there you go.
Well,
I'm gonna rock it anyway.
Well, what do the wives think? Both of you.
My wife surprisingly loves it. I
Hence
had
by
no
the picture
idea.
you sent.
Yeah, it's the only reason I'm still there.
The only time my wife says anything, and I've only done it a couple times, if I shave clean, she hates it. She doesn't like me clean shaven at all. She likes to see some.
Yeah, Catrina. I think Catrina's the same way. It's just some sort of 5 o'clock shadow or something going on there. But she doesn't. She's not a big fan of like a long beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's shout out our coach, glp1.com. You can sign up and then get notified when this happens. We are going to be coaching a group of 50 people who are on a GLP-1, and we're going to coach them ourselves. So this is myself, Adam, and Justin. We're going to coach you with nutrition, with exercise, behaviors, the whole deal, help you through the process. And also, we're doing it to learn about the effects of GLP-1s on people and how that affects how to train and coach people. So you can actually go register at coachglp1.com. Hey, look, there's a company called Element that makes an electrolyte powder that has no sugar, no artificial sweeteners. You add it to your water. Now you've got electrolytes to fuel you through your workouts with the right amount of sodium. Most electrolyte powders are too low in sodium to really make a difference. No joke. This is especially valuable for those of you that eat a diet that is low in processed foods, if you work out a lot, and especially if you have a low-carb diet. Add electrolytes to your water with Element. It tastes good, and it'll give you better pumps, better recovery. You'll just feel a lot better. Go check them out. Go to drinklmnt.com/mindpump. And on that link, you get a free sample pack with any drink mix purchase. By the way, they now offer Element in cans, sparkling, 60-ounce cans of Element. They're delicious. All right, back to the show.
Our first caller is Christian from California.
What's up, Christian?
What up?
How can we help you?
How are you doing, gentlemen? How are you?
Good. What's going on?
Oh, just a huge fan of the show, just want to say. And I just had a question for you experts on metabolic adaptation.
Okay.
Cool.
So my question is, how quickly and how severely can metabolic adaptation occur when on a long-term weight loss plan? So for example, if I were a client wanting to lose between 20 and 40 pounds in say 6 to 12 months, for how long is that sustainable on average before the BMR starts to significantly drop? Now, obviously, the short answer is it depends. But as a baseline, if I'm designing a long-term weight loss plan, what would be the general ratios of time in deficit to time in maintenance or surplus, or you guys call reverse dieting, so that those goals can be achieved while minimizing the metabolic adaptation? And then lastly, just to the second part of the question, how bad and how permanent or semi-permanent can the adaptation be? I don't really have a sense of scale. So when a BMR slows down, does it slow down maybe a little, 10 to 15%, or can it severely flatline, like cut in half, if I'm dieting down for too long or too aggressively at a time?
Cool question.
Yeah, so the answer is yes to everything you asked. So the metabolism adapts immediately. Now, what does that mean? that means it's constantly adapting. So anytime you're in a deficit, the tendency is for your metabolism to try to adapt to meet the new energy intake. In other words, the energy demands are always trying to meet the energy intake. Now, the things you can do to offset that metabolic adaptation, and by the way, it's not a bad thing. People, we've labeled it as this terrible thing, but if your metabolism didn't adapt, you would be dead. I mean, you need and it's a very complex system in the body. I mean, a long time ago, I pulled up a graph of all of the metabolic processes that we've identified. And it was like, I mean, it's one of the most complicated things or complex things we've ever observed. Now, your question is, well, how long can that last? When do I do reverse dieting? Or like so many things play a role in that, from genetics to lifestyle to also previous experiences. And I don't know if there's any necessary data to support this, but I can tell you from experience that if somebody has come from a place of lots of dieting or has been or tried to be in a deficit for long periods of time throughout their life, then that adaptation tends to happen faster and it tends to stick around longer. Like if you work with someone who's dieted on and off for most of their life, and then they come to you eating low calories already. They're like, look, I eat 1,500 calories a day. I need to lose 40 pounds. And you're like, okay, we got to do a reverse diet. That could take a while. It could take, I've seen people get reverse dieted up relatively successfully, significantly, only to be hit with a very quick metabolic adaptation once they're put in a deficit. The best thing you can do to move this in the direction that most people want, which is a faster metabolism, is build muscle. There's really nothing more effective than that. So rather than getting caught up in the how do we offset this and what's the ratio of surplus to deficit to maintenance type of deal, if you aim your gaze at building muscle, you'll almost always move in the right direction. Okay. So that means, move your gaze in that direction from a training standpoint and from a nutrition standpoint, and then mitigate muscle loss when you're in a deficit. So that's what I'm looking at. When I put someone on a cut, what I'm looking at is, are we losing strength? And if we are, then what I'm going to do is try and put you in more of a maintenance or maybe a short surplus. That's the main thing that I'm looking at. Typically, when you see good strength gains or maintenance, you tend to see more favorable results with metabolic adaptation. Does that make sense?
It does. And if I may, just from two standpoints on this question, one, of course, more general fitness and maybe bodybuilding. I see what you're saying. Now, I'm an amateur MMA fighter, so of course, when I'm thinking about weight, I'm caring more about the numbers on the scale come competition time. And I'm not talking about cutting weight. We know that's a different process, but just getting the numbers down. Would all the same considerations apply then to healthily have a weight loss goal if it's for competition like that?
Yeah. Okay. So the same rules apply, but here the nuance of this is how Sal started this which is it really has a lot to do with the individual and their prior diet history. For example, like a guy like you who's very athletic and probably eats in a surplus and trains to build muscle for most of the time, and then you just cut for a competition or like that, you can really push your body and it'll probably respond pretty well to the cuts. But I tell you what, the more and more you've done that over years, the more difficult it gets. Like I know, like in the bodybuilding world, you get these competitors that have done it year over year over year, and it gets more difficult and more difficult for them to cut because the body's now adapted. They've seen that before. So and just like the competitive world, if you think of a client who's yo-yo dieted so many times, they're not going to respond as well to, and what I mean by respond as well, because technically the metabolism is responding really well. It quickly adapts, but that's not what you want when you want to see someone slowly keep losing. So a generic answer, or what I would do, is like, okay, I'm going to interrupt this person's cut, every third week if I think that it's necessary. If it's somebody who's getting great results in the deficit and we're on week 3, I might not interrupt it yet. I might wait until I see the progress really start to slow, and then I'll interrupt it with a maintenance or even slight surplus for a week or two, and then go back down again. And then I'm like, and I'm really gonna have to feel that out with the client. And the more times you do that, the better you get at like kind of seeing it happen with your clients. And then even better is to learn how to interrupt that before the plateau hits. But the reality is you're going to train some clients in a deficit and a plateau is going to hit and you're going to be like, okay, it's time for me to increase calories.
Use your performance as a gauge as an athlete. Okay. 100%. Use your performance. Look, if your body learns to burn less calories through activity, that can be a good thing in athletics. You don't want to be in the cage or the ring with this like burning tons of calories. You want your body to be pretty damn efficient while you're fighting. Otherwise you're going to gas out. And body fat percentage, there's definitely some correlation to athletic performance, but it's not like who looks the most aesthetic has the best performance. I mean, I can name fighters right now. Fedor did look nothing like a top.
That was my first thought. Was Fedor.
Yeah. So I know. Look, I'm pretty ripped. You put me in the cage right now, and I'm done. 30 seconds. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be gassed out. So
well, keep in mind too, because he's asking kind of about two different types of.
I know that
bodybuilding and sports are two different situations.
Right. So, but performance is the measurement. Okay, especially if you're an athlete. But even with clients, I'm looking at their performance in the gym. That's how I'm gauging. Do we do a refeed? Do we move it in the right direction? And I'm putting that above fat loss. I'm even putting it above fat loss because if somebody's getting stronger or they're maintaining good strength, that's one of the better signs that's telling me we're not getting as much of a down, regulated metabolism. And then with you as an athlete, look, I don't know what weight you like to fight at, but I'm sure you've experienced this where you get fighters. They automatically assume that if they cut to a lighter weight, they're going to perform better. It's not always the case. Sometimes people cut, they go on a lighter weight and they feel like garbage and they get their asses kicked because they overestimated the power of being at a lighter weight.
I agree with that 100%. I am one of the fighters that wasn't a lifelong wrestler, so I'm not as bought into the severe weight cutting. So I'd rather risk versus reward, risk being slightly smaller than my opponent, not at the expense of being depleted.
Yep,
yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So
this is such a, the more we sit here, like this will be a cool single topic, Doug.
Yeah.
We could go like really deep because there's so much nuance to what we're talking about right now. And it really does depend on the client, their history, what I'm currently seeing. If there were a competitor where they're going into a sport versus if they're going into bodybuilding. I mean, and then you hit it. Obviously, you listened for a long time because the way you started this whole question, like it was obvious that you've heard us kind of communicate this before. It really does depend. And for every good piece of tip and advice we're giving right now, I could think of an example of where I had to throw that out the door and do it a different way because, you get every individual depending on their history and their dieting, like can handle it. I've had people where I can put them in this severe calorie restriction and they fucking just shred. They hold on to muscle. It's like perfect. And then other people where, we as soon as we start cutting, they instantly start to adapt or their body loses lots of muscle and not body fat as much. Like, so this is the real art of coaching is learning this stuff, not only with yourself, but with your clients. I go back to, I know Sal uses performance. I'm watching a client and I'm going to our plan is to get lean and I'm going to interrupt that cut, anywhere from every 2 to 3 weeks to stretching it out for 6 to 7 weeks before I interrupt it, all depending on what I'm watching, whether that's
a good range.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, it could be, I'm always going to interrupt a cut no matter who you are, but it really depends on what I see happening on how frequently I'm going to interrupt that cut. If that makes sense.
And then watching the scale plateau, watching the energy levels, the sleep patterns get messed up. And then okay, it's definitely time to refeed to surplus.
That's right. I'm also keeping in mind this too, because here's a mistake too a lot of people make is remember that training is already a stress and dieting is a stress. And so a mistake that a lot of people make this happen even quicker is they keep the same intensity and volume of training as high as they were when they were in this big calorie surplus and now they're in this cut. So sometimes I'll pull that lever. Sometimes the mistake that we're doing is like, we're dieting too hard and we're pushing too hard and the body is just freaking out and going oh shit, what's his...
Even worse, typically what happens is people going to cut and up their volume.
Right.
Oh, now I'm going to add cardio on top of what my workout was. It took me a long time to figure out that the best thing I could do with my clients when I put them in a cut was cut their volume. you're going to reduce your calories. You're also going to work out less. And what do you mean? I'm trying to lose fat.
You're already in a deficit. Let the body do the work. That's what I used to coach. That's how I used to coach all my competitors. It's like, listen, we already did the hard work building the muscle. Now we're in this deficit. Let the body do what it naturally will do. You pushing more, thinking you're going to get faster results, actually is shooting ourselves in the foot. So there is this like real like back and forth. I feel like we didn't help you at all.
Telling an athlete to do less is the right thing to do, but so difficult.
Right. That's that's why this is so nuanced and stuff like that.
You're not really going to find a standard to all this.
Yeah. Well, I know. I hope we helped somewhat here because I feel like we just made it worse for you.
Certainly help. And
okay, good.
I'll disclose where it hit home too. The psychological implication of stepping maybe not outside my lane as a trainer or a nutritionist, but like I myself, I've been in alcohol and drug recovery for 10 years now, fighting the fight. And if you know anything about that, which I'm sure you do, co-occurring disorders occur. So between my fight and addiction and my athletic goals, I battled bulimia for a lot of years. So this hits home in terms of the back and forth to severe surpluses, or I'm just going to fast until I lose weight. And I saw your recent episode about fasting, and all the way to just binging and purging. And I've had my own disorder in remission for 2.5 years, but I would empathize with any level of client, athlete or not, about what it can do psychologically or what it has done to somebody in the past.
There's a big, your situation is commendable for sure, but even with just somebody who's never battled with those addictions, when you go through years of like wrestlers, for example, or you're a fighter where you're cutting weight constantly, and then they go to try to live a regular life, the percentage of them that become obese is very high because they don't have that fight to train for. They don't have that extreme, okay, got to do this for 12 weeks and go crazy. It's like, how do I live a regular life now and be fit and healthy? And they never learned those skills. What they lived for a long time was extremes.
Christian, how long have you been a trainer for?
Well, I am a former Marine Corps officer, so informally did a lot of training, got into martial arts once I retired a number of years ago. And only last year did I actually get the credentials for strength coach, personal trainer, nutritionist, and yoga instructor, just for real shits and giggles, excuse my language. And so I haven't really put it much into practice yet. And I'm aiming to just independently out of like my growing home gym.
You're going to be a good trainer, bro. You're asking the right questions. You got good experience, both like training yourself, others.
Did you do our course, or did you see our 3-day course, or did you sign up for our course?
I'm not familiar.
Oh wow,
okay.
Yeah, we actually launched our coaching program for trainers and coaches.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, we have a free 3-day training. That's watch that. That'll get you started. Like watch that. But yeah, we're building a trainer community that and that was a big shift this year. So
yeah, what's the URL for that, Doug? For the
mindpumptrainercourse.com for the 3-day training.
Yeah, and we'll email that to you also. So that you sign up. There's a 3-day training. It's free, and we talk about some things that can help you become more successful as a trainer.
Yeah, you got to join that community though. You'll love that. So I mean, that's what everyone's going through. So and you're going to be good, bro. I can tell already.
Thank you so much. Yeah, excellent. I'll look at that right away.
Awesome.
You got it, man.
Awesome.
Thanks for calling in, bro.
Stay in touch, dude.
All right.
You got it. Yeah, I mean, he couldn't have asked.
Good questions.
Well, I mean, you can't. I mean, you almost can't ask more nuanced.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
it's such a hard one to navigate.
It is. I mean, I think we should do a single topic on it because of it, and because what's tough when someone hits you with that. Our thoughts aren't organized on how, because sometimes I feel like,
well, what it is I'm not talking to, like, if he said I have this client,
yes, right.
Then I can ask the question
for sure.
A specific date towards like going up on stage or like whatever, like something specific.
Yeah, and we could talk about, okay, well then here's what we want to do, and where we want to move. But when it's general like that, look, I've had clients where I reverse dieted them for a year.
Yeah.
For a year before they positively responded to a deficit. And then I had clients within a couple months. It was like, boom, metabolism.
So that's why I think the way this single topic structure, I think would make really good is like we pick like 4 or 5 common avatars and then we would explain the dieting and cutting part for them individually.
Some general things.
Yes, common pitfalls, common things that work really well and things to look out for, something like that. That'd make a really good nuanced step. Because it's like I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh yeah, that's really good advice. I'm like, fuck, but I can also think of course, where that's contradictory. It's like for every good example or answer I have for him, I can also think of an example
that didn't work.
Where that didn't work. And so, But that's what I mean. This is the part. I mean, this is also the part that I love about coaching and training is the
individual like, part of that is so important to figure out, and it is. It's detective work, and that's half of like what we do.
Our next caller is Nick from Washington.
What up, Nick?
What's going on?
Hey guys,
what's up?
How you doing, man?
Not bad. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Great.
Hey, last time I had bad internet connection, you guys just happened to catch me while I'm on a short little family vacation up at a cabin. So I apologize if the internet's any worse.
No problem, man.
You're good though, right?
Yeah.
We'll make it fast so your wife doesn't get mad.
Yeah.
they left the cabin just so I could have the meeting.
Oh,
so,
you're welcome.
Yeah, right. I'm going to read straight from what I wrote down just so I don't get lost in the weeds here. I tend to ramble. So thank you guys for having me on to answer my question. I've listened to podcasts now for about 4.5 years. I love the podcast, and I think the information you're putting out is fantastic. So thank you guys. I feel like I wrote too much, so I'll try and keep it quick. I am 40 years old. I'm married with a 4.5-year-old. I love hearing the stories about your experiences with fatherhood and relationships, and think it's an excellent aspect of the podcast. I got into the show for the fitness side of things, but have felt a kinship to you guys as I raised my own little boy. My journey with fitness started when I was young. I grew up kind of like Justin, playing football and doing the straightforward workouts that came with it. During college, I worked as a personal trainer for about 3.5 years. I was one of the trainers who Adam talks about that doesn't like sales, not because I couldn't do it, but because I hit a point where it just felt awkward to ask for a bunch of money in a corporate gym just so people could spend time with me. So I went back to school to become a physical therapist assistant, and then eventually got my doctorate in physical therapy. I've worked in orthopedics my entire career, and originally wrote this question when I was studying for advanced credentialing as an orthopedic clinical specialist. I try to give my patients as much of the health and fitness information I can in the time that I have with them. And I've used the way that you guys relate to people on the show and stories about your clients to relate to my own patients since I've listened to the show. As for my own fitness, I wrote my own programming for years. But when I started listening to the show, I tried out your guys' programs. I've since run almost every one that I own multiple times, except for Starter. I bought that for my parents. That way, every time they ask me for help and what they should do for exercise, I can just ask them if they started the program yet.
Smart. Yeah.
Right. Last time I talked to you guys, you recommended Symmetry. I had a posterior chain imbalance, and I've ran it twice since then with some great improvements in my deadlift to squat imbalance. It was a great program. I frequently recommend your programs to patients and think you don't give enough love to MAPS Resistance. I think that's an excellent program.
Thank you.
All right.
Patients. When I wrote the question, I was running MAPS 15 while in the last 8 weeks of studying for my test. I then ran MAPS Anabolic backwards and abbreviated it into 2-week phases as we led up to a 3-week vacation, traveling abroad. On vacation, I didn't work out a lot. I just walked and soaked in our trip. When we got back, I started running MAPS cardio to try and help my gas tank for the once or twice a week training I do with jiu-jitsu, which I just picked up because my son's teacher recommended it for him, so I decided to do it too. I wanted to improve my own gas tank on the mat and just stay as healthy and strong as possible so that I can always do things with my son and my family. I lift 3 days a week with your programming. On my off days, I walk a little less than 2 miles in the morning and work on mobility and recovery. Right now, I'm on a deload week with a short family trip to my wife's family's cabin, so I'm doing nothing but recovery, we'll call it. With all this, I finally decided to get some numbers done to try and stay on top of my health a few years ago. I started on testosterone around that time, as my original numbers were 223 total testosterone, 7.7 free. When I wrote my question, I had just received results from being on the first dose of topical, and my total was 216, so it had gone down. Endocrinologist didn't test my free testosterone then. Since then, he doubled my dose of topical gel and told me to stay on it for a few months before getting blood work done again. I haven't taken a blood test since being on this dose, but I'm scheduled to take one actually next week. I feel like most people have some kind of big stresses in their life leading to low testosterone, but I have a great family, a great job, get to go on vacations, I have good workout planning, a pretty decent diet, and I normally get good sleep. I try and do most things I know to be right so that I can practice what I preach with my patients. I feel like my stress is definitely a lowercase s stress. How can I get my numbers up to be healthier without just having to double my dose or having to go on injectable hormone therapy? When I previously wrote my question, I talked about doing a powerlifting meet, but seem to have found my competitive outlet in jiu-jitsu and would love to know which way you would go for programming to continue to improve my gas tank and maybe improve my explosive abilities and grip strength for jiu-jitsu. Sorry for the long question, guys.
No. Good question, Nick. How old are you?
40.
I'm 40 years old.
Okay. So here's the problem with trying to raise your testosterone while you're on testosterone therapy. you can't raise it naturally while you're on therapy because you're getting the negative feedback loop signal from the exogenous testosterone. So whenever you use testosterone, even at relatively low doses, your body picks up on this and reduces or stops its own production, essentially. So there's no way to raise your testosterone while on testosterone therapy aside from raising your dose of testosterone that you're taking. Now, there are a lot of men that experience this issue with like the testosterone creams or gels. Okay, that's how you're using it now?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of men can't seem to get their levels up to where they feel good in that kind of higher range. This is why most athletes or most individuals, men who, they opt for the injection. Injectable testosterone pretty reliably will get it where you want. With the gels, just, depending on bioavailability, how much you need to use, it just doesn't seem for some people to be effective enough to get the number up. You're probably looking to get your total test in the 6, 7, 800 range. And with the gels, for some people, it's pretty tough. I mean, you're already using it and you actually got lower testosterone.
Exactly.
What you were testing before. So your options are, you have kind of two options. And obviously you want to check with your hormone doctor before making any decision. But one option is going off testosterone and going on a protocol to raise your testosterone naturally with some medical intervention. So
I was surprised they didn't recommend HCG in the first place with him.
You might already be taking. Are you taking HCG with your androgel?
They went straight to androgel.
Yeah. That's so weird to me, especially the way you're asking this. I'm assuming you probably told them too, like you didn't want your. They would have explored that first.
It might be. I mean, it depends on the hormone specialist. I mean, so our partners at mphormones.com, like this is really what they specialize in. And they don't, because if you look at the standard, all right, you go to your typical doctor, they're going to look at your testosterone and be like, oh, cool, we have you up at this number, you're fine, even though you might have symptoms of low testosterone. Oftentimes, they won't recommend unless you're looking for fertility. So here's what happens. Sometimes you go to a hormone doctor, I want to raise my testosterone. Cool, let's put you on, androgel or whatever. But if you say, I want to raise my fertility, then what they do is put you on a protocol that actually raises testosterone naturally with some medical intervention. So they'll put you on like HCG, maybe enclomiphene in combination, which will raise testosterone. So what they both do, so HCG is mimicking luteinizing hormone essentially. So that tells your body to produce more testosterone. Enclomiphene blocks the estrogen receptor, sending another signal saying we need to make more testosterone because the way a man makes estrogen is through testosterone. So that'll raise your testosterone. Sure. Even enclomiphene by itself tends to do that. Now the problem is when you go off, sometimes it stays in a higher range. Other times, sometimes it goes back down, and then they're like, okay, we got to put you on testosterone. If you want to stay on testosterone, don't want to go through that process. It's a bit of a process. Talk to them about injection. I mean, injection will get it up, get that testosterone level up, and it'll stay high. It's not going to be hard to keep it in that higher range. And now again, I'm not a hormone specialist. This is just based off my experience working with with our partners. I would go through them, but based off of what they're telling me with the patients that they work with, like this is what they keep telling me.
Are you, Nick, are you just not a fan of needles? Is that why you opted for the gel instead?
It was actually my endocrinologist. He said he didn't like the way that it spiked the testosterone and then dropped over the week. He wanted it to be more steady state. He said if we need to, at some point we'll go to injectable.
Yeah, but you can also manage that with halving your dose and going every third.
There's actually two things that people do. So I don't do so I'm on TRT. I don't do one dose a week. I do two. I divide the dose twice throughout the week. Another thing that people are doing, and you can look up the data on this, and again, go through your doctor through this stuff. I want to keep emphasizing that.
Or go through MP Hormones.
Or MP Hormones has doctors too. Some men are taking their testosterone and they're doing very small doses daily sub-Q. And that gives you this nice balance. Now, I haven't experienced this. I don't know what that's like injecting oil sub-Q or how the hell you would even do that. But this is what, there was a study that came out recently that showed that to be more effective, that it converts better to less estrogen, et cetera, et cetera. Me personally, and the people I know, they'll just divide the dose. Other people are fine. But yeah, what you'll get with one dose a week is this high spike and this gradual decline, and then you take your shot again. Now, in my opinion, that's better than being low every day. I mean, you're rubbing the gel on and you're just low every day. So it's like, okay, fine. And the low days should not get as low as you are now.
No, your low day should be
like 400.
Yeah, at least or higher.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So
right now they're 216
all the time.
Yeah.
You basically
that's where I was. I was hovering right around where you're at when I first started. And let me tell you, man, it's life changing when you get this figured out. And one of the things too, like for me, like when my testosterone is managed really well and my estrogen levels, like the results for the work I put in the gym are like crazy.
It's night and day.
I mean,
that's my biggest complaint as far as symptoms go. I don't have a lot of fatigue or libido problems. I do get a little bit of brain fog when I'm kind of towards the end of the week, but like everybody gets that. My biggest issue is I really feel like I put in a lot of work at the gym and I'm not getting the results that I could when I was 25 or 26, you know?
Yeah. In when I measured mine, when I went on TRT, I didn't have libido issues. I thought my energy was okay. I worked out, I did everything right. But when I went on TRT, the difference was like 12 pounds of lean body mass. I mean, everything else stayed the same, but I gained a good 12 pounds of lean body mass going from low to high with TRT. Now, of course, you know, people probably listening are like, well, it's better to have high testosterone levels that are natural. Yes, that's true. But in some cases, it just doesn't happen for whatever reason.
You're also not 25. We'd be having a different conversation with you if you were a 25-year-old. We'd be encouraging.
And I'm not worried about the fertility issues either. We're one and done. We're not having any more kids.
Well, look, I got my wife pregnant on testosterone because of HCG. You know, I'll also do HCG because that has some other effects. And so I was, I'm obviously still fertile. I had to go get a vasectomy. So
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend that. I mean, Nick, I don't know if you're like hard on you getting your going through your doctor, but I would push you towards MP hormones, and that you can deliver. They can deliver it.
If you've had a recent blood work too, you could just use your current blood work and send it to them. You won't have to do more.
I'm gonna go do blood work next week, so I'll definitely see if I can get in touch with them.
Yep.
Try if you are gonna, because you're gonna go do the blood work, and they'll want if you already have that scheduled, you should try and actually get connected to them before you do that, so that they can
see if there's some extra tests.
Yes, so link up with them first if you can. Yeah, just go there and in fact, when we hang up, I'll tell Cassie that you're probably look out for you, see if they can push you to the front of the list.
Yeah.
Too.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
You got it, man.
All right, Nick. Good luck, buddy.
Have a good vacation.
Thanks, guys. Take care,
brother. You know, it really sucks because when it comes to hormone replacement therapy in both men and women, there seems to be two approaches. One is here are the standards. Here's what the ranges say. And then there's the optimization people who are like, yeah, I know what the ranges say. Let's look at your symptoms. Let's look at all these other hormones, how you feel. You know, some men have signs of low testosterone with a total testosterone of 400. Mm-hmm. Other men at 400 feel absolutely fine. Some men, you bring them up to 800 or 900, don't like the way it feels. Other men, 800, 900 feels great and feels normal for them.
It's just because of the stigma around it.
Yes.
That's all it is, and it's still pervasive in the medical space. So, but we're in this transition period. 10 years from now, it's not going to be like that. There's other hormones that we prescribe all the time, right away, and nobody is. It's like there's just
they even do pellets now. Do you guys know that?
Pellets?
Yeah, they inject the pellet
and
into your
dissolves,
glute, and then slowly over time it releases testosterone.
Oh wow,
which sounds painful. Pellet.
I
don't know.
Pellet in there.
Yeah.
Our next caller is Andreas from Canada.
What's up, dude?
How you doing, man?
What's happening?
I'm glad you emailed.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the email, and it's really cool to see you guys in person. Actually, well, not in person, but live. Anyways,
thanks. Thank you. How can we help you, dude?
Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna say a quick little thing, just because there is a reason I trust Mind Pump with my question. So here, and I would just wrote it down just so I don't get too off track. All right, so I've always been a big guy. At my heaviest, I was around 345 pounds, around 45% body fat via an in-body scan at the gym. I found Mind Pump in the mid-2010s, and you guys very quickly became the show I listened to the most. With some pro tips from the show and the MAPS anabolic program, I was able to drop down to 295 at around 28% body fat while joining the 1,000-pound club, and then some. I'm now back up to 310 pounds after being out of the gym since COVID started and being much more sedentary outside of work. I've undoubtedly lost a bunch of muscle mass, and this has contributed to my current health issues of high blood pressure, blood sugar, and general fatigue. And I found it difficult to get back on track with lifting, as COVID also restarted my gaming addiction. This is where Ozempic comes in. My doctor's concern, of course, was my health markers, but I had thought Ozempic just to be the new hot pharmaceutical, and I've had a hard time trusting Big Pharma recently, and I think you guys know why. However, after the GLP-1 agonists have been around for almost 20 years, and hearing a lot of anecdotal evidence of its hedonistic blunting effects, largely from Adam and Sal, I became more interested. I understand hitting protein goals and resistance training is king while on treatment, and I know Adam has said as much. Adam also mentioned that this is a good time to fix your relationship to food, and I'd like a little more clarification on this. Also, what other strategies can I use to set myself up for success while on Ozempic and coming out of it?
Great question.
Yes, that's why I wanted to go on air.
Very good question. All right, things to look out for when you start. Is your appetite getting absolutely crushed? Are you getting nauseous? Those things you want to pay attention to, because then you probably would want to go with a lower dose. So you want an appetite reduction, but you don't want to get so bad where you can't hold anything down. Although not super common, that can definitely happen. So pay attention to that. As far as food relationship is concerned, so I'm going to simplify this for you, and then I'll add a little bit more to it. Whenever you have a behavior, every time you practice that behavior, you maintain the neural connections, and you maintain the behavior. So you talk about gaming, for example, gaming addiction. If you play every single day, you're kind of reinforcing that behavior every single day. If you stop for whatever reason, let's just say, we forced you to stop. We took all your games away. You couldn't play for 6 months. That behavior starts to weaken, and those neural connections starts to weaken because you're not practicing the behavior. This is where you can get, in my belief, my opinion, where a lot of the behavior modification effects can happen from using a GLP-1, because your appetite is reduced, you're eating less, and so you're not constantly strengthening this overeating, type of behavior. Now, there is evidence that suggests that there's probably more to this, where it actually does, through maybe reduction in neural inflammation, and maybe some other stuff that I don't know and understand, that it may also just affect the hedonistic parts of the brain, to where you just, through some other mechanisms I don't understand, will reduce your desire to even engage in those behaviors. Okay, so there's that. Here's the other part that I would say. When you're on Ozempic and it's working for you, and you find yourself eating less, every time you eat, you're going to have to make a conscious practice of awareness with the food. It's going to feel silly. It's going to feel awkward, but literally it's one of these things. I'm eating this because I want to care for myself. I'm eating this because I want to be healthy. I deserve to be healthy. Like, you got to say that to yourself every single time. And it's going to feel weird, like any other behavior it feels when you first start it. Like when you see a kid first start to ride a bike, it looks awkward and weird because they don't know how. So what I'm saying is going to feel that way for a while. Because when I tell people this, like, that's stupid. I don't want to say that to myself every time I eat. Well, you won't have to every time. But at first, you'll make that decision. Now, to someone who's spiritual, I would say pray before you eat. That's one way to do it. Someone who isn't spiritual, you could write it down, or you could just say it out loud to yourself. Like, okay, I know they said this feels weird, but I want to care for myself. I want to take care. I want to be healthy. I deserve to be healthy. And then you do it. And then little by little, you're actually creating this new relationship with food. And it does take time to do so. And that's really what it's all about. Now, the other thing I want to say is this: keep your water intake up. We just came back from a peptide conference, and I heard a talk on GLP-1s by, these are leading physicians and researchers in the world. Okay, so this is like Dr. Seeds put this event together. I was very, very lucky to hear some of these talks. I got to hear information that I haven't heard communicated anywhere else. And Ozempic, semaglutide, tirzepatide, and any of the GLP-1s reduce your appetite, but they also reduce your thirst. So when you eat less, you take in less fluid because you get fluid through your food. Something like up to 20% of your fluid comes from food. And then you also want to drink less water. If you eat less and you drink less and you're in a deficit, that sends a signal for your body to pare muscle down. So
Right.
consciously keep your fluid intake up and add electrolytes to your water, because your sodium is also going to drop as your food intake drops. So I like any electrolyte powder will work. Element T is really good. And you just add some of it to your water, and then pay attention. I need to drink a half a gallon to a gallon a day. Stay consistent with that. That'll help mitigate the things. And then supplements. You should be taking creatine. And to get your protein intake, if you're finding it hard to hit your protein targets while on Ozempic because your appetite's so low, use a protein powder to hit those targets. And I would use bone broth or collagen protein, because I also learned that those proteins are high in amino acids that are
osmolytes.
They're known as osmolytes. They draw water in, and you want that for your muscle. So although whey protein is what everybody talks about as being the best, in this case, I think collagen may actually be superior. Paleo Valley, another partner we work with, they have a chocolate bone broth approach. It's delicious. You're going to want something palatable if your appetite's low. So those are the things that I would recommend while you go through this process. And the two options at the end of this journey will be stay on a low dose of a GLP-1 on and off for the rest of your life, or perhaps you can go off completely and maintain some of these behaviors. And there's some people that have been able to do that as well.
I want to comment a little bit on the behavior changing stuff as far as some tips for you. And this becomes even more important when you come off. And that is, if you have certain behaviors, say it's around gaming, say it's around like mine, where eating ice cream late at night or whatever it is, one of the cool parts about the GLP-1s is it completely like crushed that for me. I didn't even have it. But once I came off of it, those temptations came back in. Now, the neat part was I found that it was way easier to resist that temptation. And I recognized that what I wanted to do was to replace that behavior with a new behavior. So, and my new behavior became like, oh, my Greek yogurt and my fruit. So that was like, instead of ice cream, I'm going to tell myself, okay, I have this craving. Now I'm going to go do that. It wasn't hard to resist it because I had cut it out for so long with the GLP-1, replaced it with that. And now it's like, oh my God, I forgot how much I love Greek yogurt and fruit. And what I'm doing is I'm forming a new relationship with that temptation and craving at night. That will help solidify and keep the behaviors at bay, the bad behaviors at bay. If yours was gaming, and you notice, wow, when I'm on this GLP-1, I have less of a desire to have to do that all the time. My recommendation would be come up with a healthy behavior or a behavior you want to add to your life. So let's say, for example, that might be reading, or that might be training and exercising or going for a walk. So in times where you might have defaulted to, oh, I'm going to go sit on the video game for 4 hours, and now you're not doing it as much, try and replace it with a healthier habit or behavior you want to add into your life. And the GLP-1 there seems to be a lot of research that's pointing that it helps solidify those new good behaviors. And so be aware of that too. And then, like Sal said, the journaling, as you go through this process, a lot of that is, not only learning to be more present, but it's also noticing patterns. And that was one of the things I shared with the guys, was like, I didn't even realize some of the things I was doing before. And so writing that down will help that for when you come off, to be ready for it and be paying attention and knowing how to have better healthy habits instead of those.
Right. Yeah, so replacing the habit of replacing addictions was probably one of the things I'm hoping to do, just because I did do it in the past, and especially with my training, and that's kind of how I hit those numbers in the gym. But for whatever reason, I'm just having a hard time doing it this time.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason,
it's tough, man. Listen, it's tough. This is a journey, so you're going to go up and down, just the way it is. It's all journeys. With your workout, I'm going to say this. When your calories drop, your volume and intensity need to drop as well. A big mistake people make when they go on a GLP-1 is they're like, all right, I'm on this weight loss journey. I'm going to work out more. I'm going to work out harder. Not a great idea. The chances that you'll overtrain go up as the calories go down. A good solid routine is a 2 or 3 day week full body routine while you're on this GLP-1, or even advanced MAPS 15 would be a good option. And then I would say walk after breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 10-minute walk. You do that, you're going to do great.
Yeah, if you can solidify those new patterns and make that a routine and that you carry after you're off, this is one of those things where it's just going to create an entirely new protocol for you. So, trying to kind of capture that right now and be intentional about it. That's the hard part, but that's what's really going to, replace what, common behaviors you had going into this.
Right. Yeah, because then like I do hope to be off Ozempic eventually, just because I'd rather not be on it for the rest of my life.
Of course.
Sure.
But
understood, my friend.
Yeah, like I mean, I actually haven't even started yet. I actually got my dose last week, but I was camping this weekend, and I think I'd rather not find out that I'm about to shit my pants out in the woods.
So you haven't started yet, Andres?
Scare the bears.
No, I just got the treat, or I got the dosage last week, and then I was feeling a little sick last week. Doctor said it might have some GI distress as well, so I figured it might just be a good idea not to do it until I come back home.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking how much they're charging you per? What's a month go for?
Insurance covers some of it, I think. Too.
I think it was like was it 0.68 grams. Was going for like $250 Canadian.
Yeah. So the thing with Ozempic brand name is it's a set dosage. So if you find some of the like nausea and it crushes your appetite, talk to your doctor. Say I want to take a lower dose, because I know the Ozempic pen is like preloaded. Like it's like boom, this is a dose. Versus
Well, the one that I got, it has 2 doses, so it was like a half dose and then I guess the full dose.
Yes, but even the half dose for some people is too high. Now you might be fine. A lot of people are fine, so don't freak out. But if you're like, oh my god, this is I don't want to eat anything. I'm crushed, or you feel nausea, then it's probably a little too high. So like the compound pharmacies, you draw it yourself with an insulin needle, and so you could go as low as you want. Starting dose, let's say, would be 25 units, whatever that is in milligrams, and then you'd be like, oh, that's too much. I'm going to go way down to 5 or 10. The preloaded pens don't necessarily allow you to do that. So if you just don't feel good, that doesn't mean necessarily it's not for you. It may mean the dose is just too high. Tell your doctor, is there a way to cut this even in half, and take even less? Although many people don't have that problem.
Andreas, also, I'm gonna have Doug send you the link. We haven't like formally announced this, but it's coming. We are going to actually coach people through a 3-month program that we wrote specifically for GLP-1s. It's a weight training program, lifestyle.
Like you'll get coached by Adam, myself, and Justin.
And so we're going to allow only 50 slots of people to do this with. And when we launch the program, and it's coming, and we're creating a wait list of people that would be interested in it. And so if you go to, and Doug will send that over to you, but it's coachglp1.com. And then anytime we release any information, we'll send it out to that email list first. So fill that out so you have access to that. And if that's something you're interested in, we'll make sure to keep you in the loop.
Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely sign up for that.
Awesome. Good. And circle back with us in a couple months. I want to hear how this goes.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
All right, man.
All right. Hey, thanks, guys.
Thank
you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were. I was chatting with him via DM.
Yeah, it says that in his email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I knew he had good questions, and I'm like, it's like nuance. This is going to take me a long time to go back and forth via DM.
I do want to say too, and I made it this point a little bit, but the brand name, GLP-1s, they come preloaded, and it's like you have 2 dose options, and that's it. And after talking to Dr. Tina, and that episode's already up. After talking to Dr. Tina, she's like, that's too high for a lot of people.
Dude, even my own experience. Yeah, I mean, it's actually a little baffling to me that they don't start really low and then kind of work their way up. So
I also,
because that's the clinical dose in the studies that gave them the highest body weight.
I don't know for sure, but from my experience of the people that we've been talking to, it seems to be people that are healthier metabolically, i.e. require less.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming that's why they don't, that's why they probably have that as a generic.
Could be the case.
Because I think most people
that's what the data, right?
Yeah. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
But I have a buddy that was overweight. He wasn't metabolically healthy. And he took the recommended starting dose.
Yeah, and it was too much.
He's nauseous. Yeah. He felt terrible.
I mean, I asked him, I wanted to know the price, because a lot of people don't understand. First of all, Ozempic is like the first generation of these recent ones, and tirzepatide is better.
That's a dual agonist one.
Yeah, it's better. It's generic naming, and so it's not going to be as expensive. So people that don't understand that, going through your doctor and getting Ozempic, even if he has some insurance covering, he might be paying more than what he would pay if he were to go through NP hormones. So
I was just talking to a friend really similar to his, size and situation and all that. Really, what really helped him, he started actually reading like an intuitive or like a mindful kind of eating book. And then I sent him our intuitive guide and really got a lot of benefit with that going into it. So that way he had sort of a, an objective, like something like, I want to start focusing on these whole foods and start incorporating these things very slowly. And it's been really helpful.
That's why I gave that tip about like recognizing where these habits and behaviors are, and then instead of just being like, oh nice, they're gone, going like, oh, what can I replace in there to create a new habit?
Be intentional going in.
Yes. And I think that's an area where, again, this is highlighting why we want to do this with a group of people to really help people understand that, you're really missing the target if all you do is get on this drug just to lose a bunch of weight and you don't put any work in. You're not going in with any sort of intent. You don't create new behaviors around stuff like that. You don't make the connections to the things that you were doing before. Otherwise, you're signing up to just be on this shit for the rest of your life. And I don't think that's the goal for us at all for people. It's that use this. It's a very powerful tool. And if you're going to use it, let's use it and make it impactful so that you don't have to use it for the rest of your life. And these are some of the things I think that we're going to cover during this coaching process.
Look, if you love our show, we have a free guide that teaches you how to raise your testosterone naturally. It's free, and it goes through everything: diet, supplements, lifestyle, all the things that have been proven to raise testosterone. You can find it at mindpumpfree.com. You can also find us on Instagram. Justin is at mindpumpjustin. I'm at mindpumpdestefano, and Adam is at mindpumpadam.